Okay, it looks like everyone has joined us. Thanks again for joining us. This is the first time we've had a session like this before. And what we're doing is the purpose of it is to just give everyone an idea of an overview of the responsibilities of our volunteers as work group and committee leaders, and Vertifor as liaisons, very important liaisons to our committees. We are recording this session so it can be replayed as needed. And everyone is, well, I'm in the process of muting everyone right now. If you have questions or concerns or want us to cover anything, please use the chat window. Again, we'll mute all lines now and unmute for the Q&A at the end of the discussion. Before we begin, I just want to remind everyone that each of our work group and committee volunteer meetings fall under the blanketed antitrust statement. I'm not going to read every word on the screen right now, but I will share it with you following the session. I have a few resources that I'm going to send everyone that'll be valuable for you for your committee meetings. And it's up to NetVU staff. We'll be around and we can help you keep these discussions within the acceptable bounds. So again, the goal of this orientation is to provide an overview of NetVU, our mission, our role, of our board of directors and our volunteers, and all of the resources and programs we are working to provide our members. We'll share some key details and what you should be aware of with Vertifor and how NetVU and Vertifor work together to achieve our goals. And hopefully this will address some questions. Please feel free to share this information. That's why we have it. Share it with your committees as you meet with them, as you're one-on-one. Please share this information. As leaders, we are expecting you to do that. And please know how much we appreciate your effort on these committees, and we know that it takes a lot of time, both putting the agendas together and the actual meetings. So we really appreciate you and your commitment to NetVU. Again, if you have any questions, please make them known to me, Melissa, or anyone else that you're going to hear speaking today. We're glad to help you, and we want to provide everything that we can to make your term successful. I have an overview of the session on the screen now. We're working on the welcome now. Kitty's going to have a brief NetVU 101. I'll cover your charge as a work group leader, and then we're going to have a group discussion about the advisory board and Q&A. So let's get started. I'd like to introduce you. Most of you may know Mike Foy, our chairman of the board. Mike.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome for being on the call. And as Melissa said, thank you everyone for what you do and agreeing to serve in a very important capacity for us this next year. So those of you who don't know the history of the advisory board, it's made up of leaders of various work groups and committees. That the actual board of directors several years ago was made up of like 25 people, so we made a decision to change the board to 10 people that would be very strategic, and then make the advisory board that would be the tactical execution of NetVU initiatives. You know, and it's important, and I think all of you possess these skills as strong leaders with good communication skills and the ability to, you know, coordinate your committees and task force and the objectives set forth, and then also communicating those to whether it be Vertifor or even back to the executive board. For those of you who don't know, we'll traditionally have quarterly meetings, and one of my goals last year, serving as chair of the advisory board and chairman-elect of NetVU, was to do a little different process for the advisory board. And I tried to bring in strategic Vertifor people, whether they're new or old, to talk about specific topics of interest to those on the advisory board. So we'll introduce Joe here to speak in a minute, but what I would suggest is if there are certain people at Vertifor that you need to hear from and say it's the best time is a quarterly meeting, please let myself or Joe or Melissa know, and we can arrange to have that key Vertifor person, you know, at the meeting or conference call to just talk about the certain problems that you might be facing. One of the things Melissa asked me to talk about too was some of the priorities for the next coming year. I did speak to it at conference. I think it's very important to improve our communication between our users, NetVU, and Vertafore. And I think one of the ideas there was the actual ideas portal, and to bring items to discussion for all of you serving in these different capacities, whether it's the PM&E groups or education. One of the things you're going to find is as you're working through, we've asked to revamp the PM&E group with the real specific to include the commitment from Vertafore resources and communication about what's happening, what's going to happen. So you as a committee person and as a leader of your committee can do a more effective job. My ask of you all for the next coming year as the chairman of NetVU is make sure you use your volunteer time wisely and all the people on your committee. So try to make every call or meeting positive and proactive. So you're always making a step forward, and try to set goals and objectives during the call to be followed up at the next call. So that's all about communication. Other areas that I know we're working on, multi-factor authentication, which goes to that cybersecurity laws. You'll hear more about that in the next coming months. Obviously, eDocs and straight-through processing is something new that's coming. And obviously, one thing that's dear to my heart is obviously educating our users. And ultimately, you know, my vision would be is NetVU is the place that Vertafore users start when they need education for whether it's a new user or a new employee in their agency or even in a new position. But at this point, I guess I'll again thank everybody. I'd like to introduce Joe Claybaugh, who is from Cincinnati Insurance. That's why his little plug for the good old town of Cincinnati. And I have to admit, I've actually been there, Joe. It's a exciting little city with a downtown, and I look forward to getting there very soon. Joe?
Thanks, Mike. And I will plug Cincinnati every chance I get. I am very excited that we're going to be able to showcase our city and help host Accelerate 2019 here in what we refer to here when we live here, the Natty. So anyways, enough of my shameless plugs. I am with Cincinnati Insurance Companies. I've been here 30 years. I've been around a long time, seen a lot of change, and I'm excited to go through the chairs here at NetVU. I'm excited to help drive change. I think Mike's vision is very close to my own, especially when it comes to the communication piece. So on to the meeting and the agenda. I want to share with you what the board's role is and what we do and how we do it. We meet monthly. We have monthly conference calls. Once a quarter, we meet in person, either in Dallas or Denver, to sit down and discuss items that are on the agenda. Our main goal, and Mike hit on it when he when he indicated the board went from 25 folks down to 10, is become more strategic and tactical in what we do. We take topics, we strategize on how we want to approach them, and ultimately taking that information and helping to drive our committees, which you chair, you head, and you go down further in with your volunteers to help us all realize the vision. NetVU is governed by our bylaws. They're found on the NetVU site. I'm sure everyone has been on the site and we've all read the bylaws cover to end. We have some elected officers on the board. We have the chairman of the board. This year it's Mike. Chair-elect is myself. Secretary-treasurer is Carl Schlottman, and past chair is Brent Rennick. We also have an appointive officer, Kitty Ambers, who is our CEO. Kitty serves as our president. She is in charge of our general operating activities, our day-to-day activities, and is kind of the glue that holds us all together. She keeps us in line, keeps us on track, and keeps me from going off track too far. And I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Kitty, and she will take it from here. Mike?
So, Joe, let me just interrupt before we pass on to Kitty.
Sure.
At the end of this presentation, we're going to brainstorm for a little time just to gather your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, and anything that you might need to be successful with your committees. And one thing I'm a firm believer of, and this hasn't been something that's really been thought of too much in the past, was I encourage open invitations to volunteers. So if you come across somebody that you want on your committee, let's get them involved. And if they want to be in some other committee, let's get them involved. It's a situation that I don't really want to wait till July 1st or whenever the season is for new people to come in, and let's always be looking for the next great volunteer. But so at this point, Kitty, can you give us a few words?
Well, thank you all so much, and again, thank you all of the volunteers and leaders who are on the call. We truly do appreciate you, and we truly couldn't do all that we do without you. So we want to convey that to you at every turn that we can. It is my honor, actually, and pleasure to serve as the CEO of NetVU, and I am overseeing the day-to-day operations and the support of the many NetVU programs and services. We are made up of 13 full-time employees, and I think that you all probably have interacted with almost every single one of them. 6 of those individuals are actually remote employees, while the other 7 work out of our office here in Irving, Texas. And we also have several independent contractors and outsource resources that we employ for various special projects that go on here at NetVU. So many times you'll have the opportunity to interact with some of those folks as well. One of the things that I think is very unique about the NetVU organization and the way the management team has sort of evolved over the past almost 5 years since I've been here is that we really have retooled our organizational chart in that we aren't siloed in any way, shape, or form. Our org chart is actually a big circle, which represents how all that we do on our individual functional teams is in support of and connected to each other and the overall mission. And our org chart shows that at the heart of everything we do are our members and our volunteers. So it's a very, very visual reminder for the entire team, including those outsourced resources, of why we're here. And that is to connect and support our members and volunteers. The NetVU management team, we're focused on developing our staff to support all of our members and volunteers, and to providing more and better programs and services as our members strive to build their businesses using Vertafore and other technologies. And again, we truly do appreciate our volunteers for the insight that they bring our way and the requests that they make, and we are here to assist our volunteer leaders as we want to make it as easy as possible for you to help us meet the strategic objectives of the organization. And we stay focused on a couple of key things, and we are all really, really good at chasing the shiny things, so we keep each other accountable by making sure that we stay focused on our mission and that we stay focused on our core objectives, which we recite time and time again as number 1, increasing member engagement by the programs and services we create and offer. Enhancing the user experience, so making it easier, better, quicker, faster to get to those education resources, for example, or to get registered for a chapter meeting. We always are looking with that in mind and making that a pleasurable experience rather than a hassle. And then the third big area is in recruiting and developing enthusiastic volunteers and staff to support those volunteers. And a lot of that work is done by Melissa and her team, and really getting people involved, engaged, and educated on all that we do. Rather than speak on behalf of the management team, I would like to have each of them sort of introduce themselves and their team and what they're responsible for, just so you can kind of see how the four of us gel and work together to support what each of you are working on in your respective committees. So I will start with Melissa, who has coordinated this nice event for us today. So Melissa, tell us a little bit about your team, please.
Sure. My team includes, I have 3 other members on my team. We work on member onboarding, so we're responsible for making sure that our members, Vertafore users, are aware of the many resources that we offer. Oh yes, and their membership is included when they use a Vertafore product. My team also works with business development, so the partnerships and sponsorships, exhibits that accelerate non-dues revenue to help us provide more resources for our membership. And I also work with our volunteers, so volunteer management, making sure that when our volunteers raise their hand, they have a place, they have a home. And if Debbie or Hillary or Kitty needs a volunteer for a certain position, that we have some to provide the help for them. So member relations manager, and my team works with our members. That's why we're here. Debbie.
Thank you, Melissa. And Debbie, tell us about your learning experiences team.
And I think I get extra points because I remembered to unmute. Hi, this is Debbie Ivy, Learning Experiences Manager here at NetVU, and as the name would imply, my team is responsible for all things education, including our chapters and the initiatives going on there. We are responsible for education in events, things like Accelerate that was mentioned earlier, our certification programs, webinars that we offer throughout the year, as well as curating content for NetVU University. In addition to that learning content, the team also works with volunteer leaders for NetVU's 40+ active chapters, delivering grassroots education and networking experiences on the local level. My team includes 4 team members, Lauren Crosby and Whitney Eoma, focus on our chapters and those activities, and then Brittany Brockman and Lance Stanton work more on the education side. So anytime you see a class or when you see the crazy people running around at Accelerate, it's probably somebody on the Learning Experiences team. Thank you, Kitty.
Great, Debbie. Thanks a bunch. And then certainly last but not least, but Ms. Hillary Holcomb, who is our marketing manager. Hillary, tell us about your group.
Yeah, hi everybody. So my team is made up of Jenny Smith, who is our graphic design specialist and marketing coordinator, and Laura Packard, who actually works for our trike, but who is our marketing consultant and who's a big part of our team. So we're a small team, but we get a lot done and we have a lot of fun. So we're actually responsible for the NetVU and the Accelerate brands, as well as all of the communications and any collateral that you see. So we also manage Incom as well, which is our online community, which I'll be talking about a little bit later. And we also manage the NetVU events app. So we've got a lot of touch points out there for our members, and we're really happy to connect with you guys. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Hillary. And so that's the management team. And if you have any questions, concerns, need to have an idea, please hunt us down. We're not hard to find, and we're always receptive to and thinking about different ways that we can be more impactful on our membership. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out. Melissa, maybe we can move on to our next set of talking points. This is a little bit, I believe you alluded to it as NetVU 101. So we did just want to take a minute and make sure everybody kind of level sets and has consistent background information. Some of this you already know, I'm sure, but we want to reiterate how important it is as leaders of the organization, how that you know this and can share it across your working groups as things come up. So a couple of the basics here. NetVU actually stands for the Network of Vertafore Users, and the V and the U are always capitalized. We get a lot of lowercase u's and get a little excited from a brand perspective when that happens. The user group was actually founded back in 1978, initially called the ARCOM Users Group, and obviously we've gone through quite a few name changes over the years. We are a totally volunteer-driven organization, organized independent from Vertafore, and founded with the primary purpose of connecting Vertafore product users with each other. So very much at the peer-to-peer networking is at the heart of what we do. The NetVU relationship with Vertafore is long-standing. It's a terrific partnership, but we do operate as two separate entities. Vertafore provides users with their systems and the technical support, and NetVU tries to provide for a well-rounded forum so that users can gain knowledge about the industry, coming technologies, and actually relevant uses for the Vertafore products and tools. And an example of that you can see every single day on the NCOM community. Any Vertafore product user is eligible to be a member of NetVU. It's actually automatic, no additional dues required. Simply need to reach out to NetVU and connect. So info@netvu.org or call our 800 number, and our member relations team, Melissa's team, can absolutely get them going with login credentials and get them all set up to be able to access all of the services and resources NetVU has to offer. And then NetVU membership also, again, huge range of tools. We're constantly building on them in the areas of education, networking, and advocacy with not only in the industry, but also with Vertafore specifically. So please keep these points in mind as you're working with your groups, and this is always a great slide to sort of share to make sure people just understand who is NetVU, why are we around, and how do we work with Vertafore. And with that said, we'll take a look at what our formal mission is, and then Melissa will talk about your individual roles in the NetVU community. Here in front of you is the NetVU mission. It's stated to build the future by utilizing the expertise of volunteers and staff to promote world-class education, the exchange of ideas, advocacy, and technology innovation in the insurance industry. And again, we are constantly asking ourselves and each other, is what we're doing getting us closer to completing our mission? And is it in line with our mission? So a lot of times we have a lot of really cool ideas and we have to step back and go, yeah, but is that going to get us to our mission that much quicker? So, so please be mindful and keep this in front of you as a guidepost as you work with your committees. Melissa?
Thank you, Kitty. And we're constantly, staff is questioning each other. We question anytime something comes up, a new initiative, we ask how it relates to our mission and how it's going to build on our mission. Thank you, Kitty. And speaking of our mission, our standing committees and all of our work groups are designed to carry out what it takes to meet our mission and to meet our strategic plan. Each of the work group charges are on our website, and I mentioned I'll be sending you all some resources. I'll send you a link to the committee charges, work group charges. So if at any point you review a charge and you notice, you know, this isn't relevant to us anymore, or we really need to adjust our agenda, let me know. We constantly want to make sure that those are accurate, and we're working, and they help our mission. So please, let's keep the communication open. Mike and Joe both mentioned that a few times on the work that you're doing and what needs to be done. So I've listed all of the standing committees. The standing committees are actually in our bylaws. These are must-have committees, and the additional committees that are here are ones that we feel are going to help meet our strategic plan. And we'll get into a little bit of what that means for you as our committee leaders. Many times we get the question of, okay, so is Vertafore going to do this, or is NetVU going to do this? What's the difference in these two organizations? Well, we collaborate for success of each other. NetVU is really the voice of the customers. We were founded by members, for our members, by users, for users. So we are responsible for the volunteer recruiting. We work very closely with Vertafore because we know that they have many contacts that we don't have. Many of their customers are doing wonderful things that we need to get involved. And Vertafore is responsible for creating the best product on the market. And to get there, we need some of our committees to help them get there, to identify ways that they can really be the best, have the best product on the market. And we know the more that we collaborate with Vertafore and their customers and our volunteers and our members, we're all going to be successful. So now into what you have to do as a leader. Really, I've included some bullets on this screen. So most important is, as a committee leader, you are responsible for the success of that group. If you're not available to be on a meeting, find someone within your committee that you trust that can lead the group, or reschedule. We need to work together to be successful on behalf of your committee and the volunteers' time. You set the meeting cadence and agenda a lot of times along with the Vertafore liaison or your NetVU staff liaison. It just depends on the committee. And like Mike mentioned, let's keep recruiting volunteers. There's some committees that have a full committee and a subcommittee or a traveling committee, and those that get on the line depending on what the product will be discussed. One example that Mike mentioned, we're reworking the AMS 360 product maintenance and enhancement work group to the AMS 360 product work group. So we're going to have a strategic group and a tactical group that will cover different aspects within that committee. So always recruit volunteers. There's a place for everyone. If there isn't at that point, let's keep them in the database and keep them top in mind so we can get them engaged and meet that other goal that Kitty mentioned of increasing member engagement. We'd also like your support of NCOM, so share the information about your committee on NCOM. Each committee has their own private community to share this information, and it's so much easier than email. Nobody likes continuous strings of carbon copies and BCC and that. Please, it would be great to use NCOM for that, and Hillary's going to walk you through that. And another area that we hope that you will help us is a board report. Not all the time, just a quarterly board report, and that will be reviewed by the advisory board. It helps the other groups know what's going on. So whether it's the PM&E groups have something that they want to share with education, those report outs are a great time to share some of that information. And above all else, support NetVU's mission. We hope that those of you that are on the line, all of our volunteers, can support our mission and really represent the greater good of all member organizations, putting the collective needs of our members above your own. So you are with your organization, you are an individual. As a volunteer leader, you're representing all members. So we'd appreciate that. Most of us do. So I've included a list of the volunteer leaders here. I will share this presentation so you have all of these names. Just keep this in mind when you need ideas, when you want to chat with them. I'll be glad to share this information, and it's also on our website. I'll send you that link. I'd like to welcome some of the new leaders that we have on this list. Thank you, thank you, thank you again. I don't think we can say thank you enough for joining us. And just a reminder that the leaders serve 2 to 3 terms max, depending on the discretion of our chairman of the board. So please constantly be recruiting and training your replacement to serve. We're not trying to kick you out. We just know that there's sometimes things arise that you may not be able to serve your full term. So help us backfill that position, or after your 3 terms that we have someone to fill your position. Always be training your replacement, whether it's on a committee, in your job, at home, whatever. All right, so we'll cover the vertifloor liaisons. The vertifloor liaisons work with the volunteer leader to make the meeting successful. Between the 2 of them, we hope that they will take the attendance and minutes of each meeting and post it to INCOM. The vertifloor liaison is really one of their priorities is to communicate the future plans, vision, priorities, and roadmap with the work groups. And then the work groups will share it within the community. If it's not something, remember we signed a non-disclosure. So if it's something that is that can be distributed, to share that on INCOM. But we always want to ask first. Vertifloor liaisons participate in all work group interactions, all committee interactions, and continuously support NetVU's mission and Vertifloor's objectives. And on the AMS 360 work groups, the ImageRight PM&E groups, all of the PM&E groups, the Vertifloor liaisons are responsible for updating ideas. I hope everyone knows what ideas is. If not, we'll talk about that another time, or let me know. I've included the vertifloor liaisons here. Again, I'll share this so each of you have this list, and they want you to be successful too, so let's all work together and give them what they need to be successful, and I bet they help us too. It's been wonderful. And as your staff liaisons, you heard Hillary and Debbie and Kitty and I earlier. We're here for operational logistics support. If you need a call schedule, we're glad to do that for you. If you have a position that you need filled, we can help you fill that position. We'll ask for your assistance to provide like a description, a time bound, so that we can promote that position, but we're glad to help you fill in those volunteer roles. We make sure that the volunteer agreements are completed. So each of you received a welcome letter a few weeks ago, a code of conduct that all volunteers sign, and we make sure that those are completed prior to each call. And again, we all support NetVU's mission. And just let us know how we can help you be successful, whether that's setting up a call or getting in contact with someone else in the industry or at Vertifloor. We're glad to help do what we can. We may not have all the answers, but we'll be able to help you find the answers. And these are the staff liaisons for the various committees that we have. Hopefully you know most of these names. It looks like Kitty's a very busy lady these days. All right, and I will share this with everyone. We do have expense reimbursement guidelines that we'd like you to share. Anytime that you have a group that's traveling on NetVU's behalf, we do have expense reimbursement guidelines that you'll need to follow and share with your committees. But I can share that with you. I'll send that along with the resources, just so that the volunteers have it top of mind when they're expecting a reimbursement. And I am now going to turn the session over to Hillary to walk you through INCOM. Hold on one second, Hillary.
Okay, thanks, Melissa.
All right, you have it, Hillary.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. All right, so Melissa mentioned earlier that each committee has its own INCOM community. And I'm just going to warn you, saying community over and over is really tough, and I know I'm going to mess this up, so just prepare yourself. Sometime in this, I know I'm going to mess this up. So these communities are closed to the public, as Melissa mentioned, and only committee members can access them, and only committee members can access anything that's in the library. So only you will be able to see what's on that homepage. So these communities are set up just for you and will be where all of your conversations regarding the committee take place. So please use this community rather than sending group emails so that we can maintain a history of the group's discussions. So this is super helpful to us as new committee members are added and others may roll off. It helps us maintain a knowledge base of the work you've done and also what's been done in the past. So you're automatically going to be added to your committee community, and you'll be able to access it by going to My Communities, or there's actually a Committees Community tab, and I'm going to show that to you now. So you can either go to My Communities here, or you can go to this Committee Communities tab, and this will bring you to a list of all of the committee communities. So just for the sake of this call, let's just jump into this work group here. And here you'll see their homepage and all the latest discussion posts. You can post a new discussion by going to this tab and also read through any previous discussions that have taken place. You can post your new discussion by clicking here. What I really want to point out to you, though, is the library. So if you click on this tab, you'll be able to see all of the relevant documentation that's been added to this community. And that's where you will also add your notes for the calls, agendas, and things like that. Some committees do have multiple folders, and so you'll be able to add them based on folder, but you'll just click one of the folders and then all of the content will appear here on the right. So this is where you'll be adding all the information and where you'll find it. There's also the members tab, which is a pretty handy tab, shows you all of the people who are part of that committee. And it's also a place where you can send them a private message instead of emailing if you prefer that. So it's kind of an all-in-one place to get all of your committee work done, all of your conversations can happen here, and you'll find all the documentation here. So that's why we really encourage you to utilize this InComm community instead of keeping everything in email. It's really helpful. Another thing I wanted to point out to you is that you can change your subscription settings, and we recommend that for your committee communities because you'll be able to receive real-time emails anytime a discussion is posted in the community. So that'll help you stay on top of whatever's going on in the community. Anytime there's a discussion post, anytime someone adds a document, you'll be notified, and that also helps kind of eliminate the email issue of reply all. You'll be able to see it all in the community, and you can also respond to the community by email if you like to do that. So in order to change your subscription settings, you'll go here to the top of the page, just in my picture here. You click down on this arrow, go to profile, and my profile page will pop up. So you'll go to this My Account page and community notifications. And we'll see our subscription stuff here in a second. Okay, here we go. So this is a list of all of the communities I'm a part of. So you'll find the committee community in this list. So let's just say it's this one that I want to change. I'll go here and select real time. And that will mean that I'm going to get an email anytime a discussion is posted or there's a library entry. I'm going to be notified by email immediately. So that's a really easy way to keep track of what's going on in the community. And so while you may not do that with your other communities, like the Hub, for instance, we recommend that you make this change for your committee communities. And of course, if you have any questions about navigating InComm, we have this helpful help and FAQ section here. There's a great video and some tutorials. So if you have any questions about how to navigate InComm as a whole, check those out. And of course, feel free to ask me or really anyone at NetVU for help. We'd love to help you on that. And finally, I just want to take a second to mention that as a NetVU leader, each of you is expected to be an ambassador for NetVU and the community. And so we need your help leading conversations and keeping content positive and helpful. So if you notice a post that doesn't comply with the NetVU terms and conditions, which you can find here in our code of conduct, please reach out to anyone on NetVU staff and we'd be more than happy to address that. But we're also looking to you to help drive positive conversations. So as you're responding to others' posts, be mindful to help lead those conversations in a positive direction and make sure the input you're providing is helpful to the community overall. So again, please let me or any staff member know if you have any questions about anything with NCOM. Again, you're going to be automatically added to your committee community, so you don't have to do anything. You're already going to be part of it. But please let us know if you have any questions moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. I also want to share one question that we get quite a bit is about the hub. And you may know this, but all members are added to the hub. Everyone has access to the hub. We'd like to get to a point where the product conversations take place in the product communities. But just a reminder that all members, as they're added to our database, are added to the hub. So it's an all-member form. And just watch out for, I'd love your help watching for any suggestions that may already be in ideas. If you know a question or something that's posted anywhere in NCOM, let them know that there's an idea out there posted, or they should go vote on an idea or add it to ideas. Help us direct them to the right areas. Or if you see something that needs to be escalated, help us escalate it. We try to be everywhere all the time, but sometimes it's just not possible. So we really would love your help in that area. We keep asking for help, so we appreciate you once again. And now I'm going to open the call again to Mike and Joe. What we'd like to talk about is a little bit of the communication of this group. Mike, would you like to start the conversation? And I will start unmuting the lines.
Okay, so this is great. And, I'll reiterate what I said before, and Melissa said that your reports that we'll look at on a quarterly basis, I used to use those to direct the conversation during the quarterly meetings, and in some cases invite certain people from Vertafore or even the NetVU board for the call. So the reports are very, very important. I hope we don't go back down, and this is obviously Joe's decision, but we don't go back to just the reading of reports. We just kind of involve them in the conversation we're having. So let's kind of talk now on your thoughts, your needs, your questions, your concerns. What things would you like to see on a quarterly call? Who would you like to hear from Vertafore or somewhere else? And we'll open it up.
And what can we do to help make your job easier?
If there's silence, I'm going to stop picking on people.
I hope we didn't scare them all off.
Joe and Mike, some of the things that we've done in the past, I know we would get separate groups. We would tackle certain topics, whether it's education or immersions that are going to take place over the year, or how do we promote the use of ideas by getting the PM&E groups all together on one call. Those of you that are on the line that we haven't heard your pretty voice, what do you think of that? Is the advisory board an area that we can get y'all together to talk about pains, successes, challenges?
Okay, Doug's not on the call, so I was going to pick on Doug for being the new person to the group. So Doug, if you're hearing me and you can talk, I want you to introduce yourself. Doug Moore?
Surprise,
no, Doug Moore.
Doug.
Hold on.
Doug. There we go.
took me a minute to find the mute button and take it off. So yeah, thanks for picking on me, Mike.
Yep.
Always able to be your target. So
Okay.
but, yeah, I'm taking over Bruce Winterburn's role at the end of the year. Well, I'm taking it on now, but transitioning through end of the year from an industry relation perspective. So looking forward to working with NetVU leaders and community in my new role. And I'm also going to be looking at our current partnership structure within Vertafore and working very closely with the NetVU leadership on aligning a partner program between the two organizations that bring value to our customers. So excited about my new role and working very closely with a number of people on the phone to move the ball forward.
So those of you on the call in your committee roles, what can you have any suggestions for Doug on the industry relations side when working with carriers, other industry groups that could help you with the development of your product or education thesis?
So Mike, you called out Doug. I'm going to go ahead and call out one. Jessica's on the line with us. She's on the board as well. And she's on the Image Right Education Committee. Jessica, is there anything we can do to help you?
You know, I think one thing we're always looking for, and Debbie's probably like, we're not that we're beating a dead horse, but just something that we're always looking for is just new people to help, new volunteers. And, you know, it's like someone mentioned before, it might have been Melissa, we hate to call on the same people over and over again. What tends to happen, I think, a lot of times for us is we run sort of in the same circle. So we have the same group of, you know, industry friends that we know we can call on for help. And I feel like there's this huge population of untapped, potentially amazing educators or chapter leaders that are out there that we just don't know about. And don't, you know, maybe they're afraid to raise their hand, that hesitancy to, what am I really getting myself into? And so, we've struggled with that in the past. We've talked about it whenever I was on the chapter committee. We talked about that a lot. Is how do you get people to take that first step to become engaged with NetVU, or more engaged at a level, you know, like where they can be on the advisory board or help lead committees or what have you. So that's something that we've tried to figure out in the past, and there's no, I'm sure, magic bullet to solve that issue, but that's something that I would love for us to work together to figure out, is how do we start tapping into all of these amazing resources that we don't necessarily know are even there.
That's a great point, Jessica. You know, I think we see that throughout all of the industry committees and different groups that are out there. It's always the same core group that we're looking at, and how do we tap into, let's call them the lurkers, those that are out there that listen and participate, but they're not real active and vocal. How do we grab them and engage them and pull them in?
Well, and let them know it's not a life sentence, but it's something where, you know, we would love to have people. I mean, there's so much expertise, and I think about, like, with Image Right specifically, you know, I have no idea how to do workflow studio. That's just, it's not in my wheelhouse. I don't expect for it to ever be. But I know that there are people that do some super amazing, awesome things in it, and that there's a whole other group of people that would love to know what those super awesome, amazing things are, and would actually understand, you know, if somebody tried to speak about those kinds of things. So, yeah, I mean, there's absolutely tons of untapped resources out there.
Jessica, thank you for that. This is Melissa. And what and I think I've pushed you for this before, what I'd love to see is when we do a call for volunteers, I completely agree that no one has time for like a 5-year commitment. They want to know what this sentence is. If they want to call it a sentence, hopefully not, but a clear description of the expectations, and that goes for everyone on the call. When we think about volunteers, let's know what we're asking for. So someone that knows Workflow Studio, that has time 1 hour a month for the next 6 months to prepare a presentation, whatever that is. So it's time bound and specific about what they need, what their background is that they need, and expectations for the work that's going to be involved and the outcome. Oh yeah, and tie a bow on it. How long is it going to last? But I hear what you're saying completely, and I think that we'll get there once we have this like template for a volunteer ask.
One of the things I think we have found to be really successful too is to truly ask people something specific. When we've seen people who are engaged and comment on something on NCOM, or who speak up at a chapter meeting, for example, and truly inviting them to get more involved around their passion, and in conversation you can kind of pick that up. So I encourage each one of you to invite someone that happens to maybe make their ideas known, or maybe with a little encouragement would do that, because everyone loves to be invited. Not everyone likes to volunteer, and then we end up in a position where we have to voluntold. So we don't like to do that either.
Melissa, could I jump in? This is Debbie.
Yes.
I also, and we sort of commented around this concept, but just to sort of lay something out that I'm not sure is always really obvious, and that is that there are a number of ways and roles to serve in. So when you're thinking about others who you would like to have join your team, be prepared to talk to them about the different things that would be helpful, different volunteer routes that people can take. As an example, I had a conversation just this week about someone in education, and this individual has been really engaged in our annual conference. And I thought, oh, what a great opportunity to give them an opportunity to step up and be a leader of developing education. But as it turns out, that person really didn't have any interest in leadership. They loved the one-on-one and the one-to-many of educating at conference, but had no desire whatsoever to be part of the strategic team that looks across the horizon and plans that education. So there's a role for that person. It just wasn't necessarily the one that we first had in mind. And if the ask is made in such a way that it gives the person being invited the opportunity to say, that's not really in my wheelhouse, but I would prefer, and leave the door open for them to be able to say what they prefer. Who knows? In time, it may be that that larger role or a different role becomes attractive to them, but they won't know until they actually get on board and begin to interact with you guys. So I'd encourage you, as Melissa said, be very clear about what your ask is and know what the various positions are on the team that you're leading, so that you can have a variety of people who will be willing to consider a position with you.
Thank you, Debbie. I completely agree. One thing, and everyone keep thinking about this and how we can help, how Joe and Mike can be resources and even staff resources for you. I will go ahead and start scheduling the quarterly advisory board calls. So we look forward to that interaction. Just keep in mind, let's make the best use of the time that we have together, both on the advisory board and your committee calls. One thing I forgot to mention earlier, part of what I'll be sending you as our resources is the work group charge, the position charge. We also have developed a meeting agenda template. And what we'd like to do is keep the work group charge top of mind for the group. So as you're looking at the agenda, you actually know what the need that you're trying to meet, as well as the mission. And then one area that we added to the agenda is review of previous minutes. What happened at the prior meeting that needs to be covered again, or, you know, put a bow on, what happened since the last meeting. So that's part of the agenda, as well as a roll log, so that you can keep up with the participants from call to call. And I'll be sending that out to this group following the call. These are the items that'll, another piece of this is the board report template. To make it super easy for y'all to complete your board report and add it to the advisory board in Conform. So thank you for that. I want to take a minute and thank you for participating in this call, and once again remind you that today is the deadline to register at the Super Saver rate. Again, you and everyone in your organization, if you participated in a conference in the past, can get this rate. So register today.
My shameless plug, come to Cincinnati.
And do we have any questions for anyone on the line? With 3 minutes to spare. Well,
Melissa,
once again,
Melissa, I want to thank everyone again for participating, for volunteering, for giving their time. We all have our regular jobs that we need to do, and it is a commitment. It's not a life sentence, but it is a balance act, and I want to put out my thanks again to everyone that gives their time and volunteers, because quite honestly, if we weren't here doing this, it just wouldn't happen.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.